Well, are you ready for some unindoctrination? I hope so. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian Whistleblower, coming to you live from the heartland of America with the spirit of 1776 and a rebel yell. We've been pushed too far, and we are back. I've been enjoying the chat room. We got a lot of good people in here, and we got a lot of good chat going on, and I'm sure that will continue, ladies and gentlemen. I see Ken in. I see Uncle Kester. Nice to see a lot of you people here, and it's nice to see all of you people here. I don't mean you people, but you people. Good evening to you, Artie Thomas. Nice to see you again, folks. We spent about 3 years because we went through this last night. I just really started going hardcore with YouTube about 3 years ago, and there's Sterling over in Japan. And Paul says it's time for the mail. Yep, here it comes. Here it comes. And let's get it on, like J.R. Chua said. I'm ready. So we've been talking about everything that's wrong. Basically, we have been helping people see the cracks in the foundation of big-time religion. We've been shining the light into the dark corners of orthodoxy. And now we're going to start turning the corner a little bit and start talking about what we can do to create ourselves. We know what's wrong. We know why it's wrong. We know how it's wrong. And we'll still talk about that because people still need to be reminded. But today we're really going to start moving into a place now where we're talking about, now that we know what's broken, let's talk about something that can be a fix. And that's where we start tonight. And we start in learning how to create ourselves and build the life that we'll love. And for some reason, I didn't have the PowerPoint pulled up, but it is up and it is ready now. Folks, C60 Purple Power, you see Ken in the chat room. He's the CEO. This is the best stuff I've ever taken as far as antioxidants. It pulls the heavy metals out of your system. It makes you more alert. It's great for your virility, if you know what that is. If you don't, ask your wife, because if you don't know, she sure doesn't know. But anyway, it's great stuff. It will really make you feel better. It will change your life. Go to c60purplepower.com, use the code TCW10, or just go to jeffreydaugherty.com and click on that cute little C60 logo that you see, and a nice discount is already built in. This is the stuff that Cliff High, that you guys like, says this is the reason why he's alive. This brand, this product, and his wife too, and we are glad of that. So let's talk tonight about creating yourself. Let's talk about building a life that you'll love. Let's talk about bringing you the technology that you need to set yourself free. And there's an amazing story behind this that I want to share with you. Create yourself. And we're talking about the modern science of mental health. And wait till you see what we're talking about. I'll guarantee you right now, some of you are going to be upset. Some of you are going to want to unsubscribe. Some of you are going to want to scream. Some of you are going to want to yell. Well, if it's not a rebel yell, I don't really want to hear it. Because frankly, I don't care. I'm here to help you help yourself. And if you don't want to help yourself, I can't help you. So best that we shake hands and part as friends. We don't even have to shake hands. We don't even have to be friends. We can just part. Of course, I'm being a little facetious, but this is important stuff. And if you don't like it, feel free to leave, but don't feel free to be disruptive because we won't allow that. So this is a quote from L. Ron Hubbard. This is a quote from L. Ron Hubbard. He says, a being is only as valuable as he can serve others. A being is only as valuable as he can serve others. That's L. Ron Hubbard. I know you heard a lot about L. Ron Hubbard, but stay with me. Laura says, come at me, bro. I'm coming at you. We know this is divine law. This idea of being valuable to other people, determining our true value as a spiritual being. And Delaney's in the house. So we know this is divine law. It's nothing new. Being of service to others is humanity's highest calling. Lost in this, however, and we've talked about this, But lost in this is a hidden yet obvious implicit truth. And even the Christian script was forced to encode this obvious answer due to natural law. And here is the code in the biblical script. Love your neighbor as yourself. No other commandment is greater. No other commandment is greater. A being is only as valuable as he can serve others. So the hidden obvious truth in being of service to others, in loving your neighbor as you love yourself, the obvious hidden truth there is that you can't love your neighbor as you love yourself if you don't first love yourself. And I'm not talking about anything kinky. I'm not talking about anything freaky. Even though if you want to do that, that's great. Just try not to do it while you're watching the show. But loving yourself isn't just some silly emotion. Because what do you have to do if you really want to love yourself? Have you ever loved anybody else? Or let me ask a better question. Have you ever thought you loved somebody else? Tracy says it's not about your feels, and it's really not. Have you ever thought you loved somebody else? Oh, I love this person. I thought I loved a person not too long ago. And then I moved in with her. Found out I didn't. I really didn't. But then you're committed and you want to stick it out. And you want to, but you don't really love somebody until you know somebody. And how can you love yourself until you know yourself? That's what this create yourself idea is all about. Knowing yourself, creating yourself, loving yourself so you can love others. You can never be valuable as a being until you're valuable to yourself as a being. And if you think that you're full of original sin, you're no good to you and you'll never be any good to anybody else. If you think that you are a sinner saved by grace, you're no good to yourself, you'll never be any good to anybody else. If you think you got to go on bended knee to somebody else's savior because you need salvation, you're no good to yourself and you won't be any good to anybody else. All you're good for is a slave. That's the way this thing is set up. But if you know yourself and you know you're divine and you know you're sovereign and you know you're free, thank you, Cassie. Thanks for being here. Then you can love yourself. And then you can love others. Because here's how it works. If you get into yourself and you realize, oh man, I am divine, I am sovereign, I am free, and I am wearing my Viva LRH t-shirt. How appropriate. If you want some shirts, go to conspiracytees.com or just go to my website, click on any plastic Jesus you happen to see, and you can get a great shirt at a great price and help us out. But anyway, what you'll find out is, I have divinity in me. I've got the spark of divinity in me, so I can give myself a break. I can love me. I know that I got the best of intentions. Sometimes I mess up, but I know I'm divine, I'm sovereign, I'm free, I can give myself a break. And when you discover that about you, then you discover that about other people too. Right now, you think your neighbor is born with original sin. And you think that neighbor is going to do something bad to you. It's just a matter of time. Why? Because that's what's in you, because that's what you think is in you. But me, I know that I'm divine, I'm sovereign, I'm free. And no matter even if my neighbor wants to park his boat in our yard without asking, I know that he's divine, he's sovereign, he's free. So I appeal to that divinity, sovereignty, and freedom before I punch him in the face. And usually you don't have to get to the punching part. So it's all about loving yourself so you can love other people. And you know what? I don't have any time for trolls. So see ya. This is what Create Yourself is all about, ladies and gentlemen. In the line of study, this line of study is for the person that wants to learn about the most workable spiritual technology that I have discovered in over 40 years of study across the spectrum of spirituality. Now, if you don't know me, and even if you do, I'm going to tell you anyway, 40 years. I know I don't look old enough to be doing this for 40 years, but I have been. I started out a Pentecostal preacher, laying on hands, wiping head, brow, sweat, laying on hands, casting out demons, healing people, preaching the gospel, preaching what we call the gospel, which really means the good news of the victories of Caesar, but that's another show. I was preaching hell hot. And now here I am talking about the most workable spiritual technology. That's 40 years of learning. That's 40 years of knowledge. And you don't have to listen to me. But if it's spiritual, if it's religious, I've been there and I've done that. I have. You can't talk to me about anything. I've been initiated as a witch. I have. I've cast out demons. I've seen ETs. I've seen what said they were angels. I've been there and I've done that. But this that I'm about to talk about is the most workable spiritual technology that I've ever come across in 40 years of spirituality. And this spiritual technology is called Dianetics. And its advanced studies are called Scientology. Now, don't go running and screaming away. This study is for those that want to see what Dianetics is, what Scientology is, see if it might potentially work for them. And I got news for you. If Dianetics doesn't work for you, if Scientology doesn't work for you, you'll be the first one. Because everybody that's ever tried it, it works. That's why. Do you really think I'm going to come on my channel? We just hit 45,000. We're rocking and rolling. We've had a ton of subscribers the last few days. Do you really think I want to come on here and talk about something that I know some people aren't going to like? No. Not true. Daniel says Dianetics comes from Scientology. No, exactly opposite. I'll explain this real quickly. It's a good question. Dianetics deals with the being, the person. And we're not going to get into all of this tonight. We will over the next few days and weeks and months. Dianetics gets you to be able to fix this body 100%. Scientology takes somebody that's got their body fixed and then helps them do the same thing to themselves spiritually. Dianetics deals with your physical body, your mind. Scientology deals with your spiritual being, okay? Dianetics makes you a clear. It clears out all of your shit, every bit of it. Scientology will make you superhuman like you were meant to be. Have I got your attention yet? Well, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. It does sound dynamite because it is. But Jeff, it's Dianetics. But Jeff, it's Scientology. And too often, readers of Dianetics or people that study Dianetics have abandoned their studies because some well-meaning person has given them hell. How could you possibly consider Dianetics? Don't you know that evil Scientology is behind it? And the problem with that statement is that it's true. It's absolutely correct, but not for the reasons that you think it's correct. And we're going to talk about those reasons, and we're going to clear those reasons up for you right now. I'm going to tell you a fascinating story about Dianetics and the military hospital, and it's a story back in 1947. It's all right, Daniel. Everybody's confused. Dianetics and then Scientology after it can be used as white Dianetics. Think of magic, black magic, white magic. There's white Dianetics, and it is the most workable spiritual technology for the benefit of man. But there's also black Dianetics, and black Dianetics is the most workable technology for enslaving mankind. And what you don't know, and what I have known only after 40 years of study, is that you've got to understand there's a war going on right now, and it's a literal hot war between black Dianetics and white Dianetics. And This is how fake Dianetics, Tom Cruise, Church of Scientology, David Miscavige brand Dianetics came about. It's fake Dianetics. And if you don't hear anything else, hear this. The Church of Scientology that Tom Cruise is in, you want no part of it. It's bad, 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 bad. And I'm going to show you why. I'm not convinced that Tom Cruise is bad, 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 bad. He just might be deceived, but we'll see. Yes, there is good and bad Dianetics, Daniel. 100% is what we're talking about right now. There's white Dianetics and there's black Dianetics. What we want to do, that's the give me all your money Dianetics. This is exactly right, and we'll get into that, Laura. You're smart. We want to warn people about fake Dianetics. And personally, I want to advocate for true Dianetics and Scientology because it's got the most workable spiritual technologies ever in the history of spiritual technologies. It's made me what I am. After World War II, L. Ron Hubbard, I know you hear a lot about L. Ron Hubbard, and I'm not saying he was a perfect guy. He wasn't, because he was a guy. Some people say, oh, he was a dummy. He's an idiot. Well, this dummy, this idiot, commanded not one, but 2 U.S. Navy vessels. I was in the Air Force for 7 years. My dad was in the Navy. And any dummy can get command of 1 ship. But a dummy's not going to get command of 2 ships. So you can say a lot about L. Ron Hubbard, but he wasn't a dummy. He actually commanded 2 naval vessels. And one of them, he fired on Japanese submarines off the coast of Oregon. That's amazing. Dianetics was developed during his research of the human mind, and it started at Oak Knoll Marine Hospital. This is a fascinating story. Whether you care about Dianetics or not, whether you ever want to use it, it doesn't matter. This is a really cool story. And Dianetics was developed from his hands-on work with traumatized military colleagues to relieve them of their torments. He's at the Oak Knoll Marine Hospital. They're saying, hey, can you work with these people? These are the people we can't fix. And they're bringing them to Hubbard, and he's fixing them all. Boom, 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 boom. Every single one of them, except for people that had damaged brains. Brain parts missing, brain parts blown out. Some of them he couldn't help. You have to have an intact mental system, organically intact. But they were bringing him the worst cases, and he kept healing them. And he was able to convert all of their incurable cases, helping them get back to normal lives, productive lives, which when you think about it, it's amazing. It's a military hospital. They're bringing them to L. Ron Hubbard, the ones they can't fix, and he's fixing every single damn one of them. And then here comes the deep state. That's right, the deep state. You never thought I'd be talking about the deep state when we're talking about Scientology and Dianetics. This is how big this is. This is how important this is. That it got the attention of the Nancy Pelosi, Mitt Romney, and a million other people who never heard deep state. Deep state's on the left and it's on the right. Now, I think it was Commander Hubbard. I can't remember the rank he had achieved. He was an officer. He's carrying out his own highly successful clinical work. And he's carrying on his own work. And he's starting to get these people that come every now and then. And they're all, I don't know any other word to say, but they're all fucked up. They're all drugged up. They're drooling. They're a mess. And he's like, what's going on with these people? So he starts asking about these dudes that are coming, like, oh, you don't know about those dudes. Well, you see, you got your part of what they're doing. You got your part of what you're doing. But there's this other part over here in this other wing. And what they're doing in this other wing is they're doing psychiatric experimentation where they're trying to get people, they're trying to change they're trying to get them into thought control. They're trying to program them to do things later. They're trying to they're trying to control their minds. And as Hubbard started encountering these victims of severe psychiatric abuse and thought control that was occurring in another section of the hospital, he starts looking into this. He finds out it was called PTSD. DH, Papa Delta Hotel, pain drug hypnosis. And the goal of this pain drug hypnosis, and you know what it is, you just don't know it by that name. The goal of this pain drug hypnosis was brainwashing, reprogramming, and thought control. Let's brainwash these people. Let's give them new identities. Let's give them, let's teach them things, and let's have it hidden in their minds so we can activate them with a single word and they can go off and do what we want to do. Well, let's make a bunch of Manchurian candidates. And it was called brainwashing, programming, thought control through PDH, pain drug hypnosis. Think of that. And I'll tell you this, folks, you will never fall victim to PDH. You'll never fall victim to pain drug hypnosis if you can get yourself into the fluffy environment. That's right. Focus, life, force, energy. It's high consciousness on demand. And there's no way there's never been anybody abducted by an alien from a fluffy environment. There's never been nobody possessed by a demon in a fluffy environment. I'm being honest. That's why I offer this stuff, because it works. Go to jeffreydaugherty.com, hit on the fluffy whoosh. You get 30 days for free, 15 phone, 15 home, or just buy it. It's amazing. So Hubbard's looking into this. And what this was the early stages of what would become MK Ultra. MK Ultra. Think about this. L. Ron Hubbard is developing Dianetics in one wing in this hospital, helping people. Boom, 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 boom. In another wing of this hospital, they're developing PDH, pain drug hypnosis, which will come to be known as MK Ultra. And what Hubbard didn't know is they were taking his data. They were taking his techniques. They were taking the records and the films and the recordings of his sessions, and they were using it over here in the PDH lab. So Hubbard is using what we now know as white Dianetics, helping people. Boom, 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 boom. The worst cases. And they're taking those successes and using those principles and back engineering them and using them for brainwashing, programming, thought control. That's why it's called Black Dianetics. You know all about MK Ultra. You've heard about MK Ultra. And some of you still follow idiots on YouTube that use MK Ultra on you. But you never knew that MK Ultra was perfected by perverting Dianetics. Can you imagine that? L. Ron Hubbard making Dianetics, helping people. CIA, which it turned out to be, doing MK Ultra, using Dianetics to mind control people. Wow, that's amazing. That's probably never ever been told before on YouTube. That's powerful stuff. That is powerful stuff. LRH was able, and LRH, by the way, is L. Ron Hubbard. LRH was able to help all of those he treated recover by releasing the pain and nullifying the brainwashing. And LRH launched an official protest against what he determined to be criminal human experiments by the Office of Strategic Services. That's who was doing the PDH, the pain drug hypnosis, was the Office of Strategic Services. If you're a student, you know that the Office of Strategic Services would become the Central Intelligence Agency. Uncle Quester, I love you, brother. He says, I've never heard anything close to this teaching. It's brilliant. It really is brilliant. And I can't fully be responsible for it. But it's amazing. So Hubbard launches an official protest against these human experiments by the Office of Strategic Services, which would become the Central Intelligence Agency. And of course, when you make an official protest through official channels, he didn't just walk over there and talk to the guys. He knew that he had to launch an official protest. So he launches it, and that puts L. Ron Hubbard, Lafayette Ronald Hubbard, by the way, squarely in the crosshairs of the deep state, the deep friggin' state. You never knew it. The deep state. And it initiated a war against him personally, which is still going on. It initiated a war against Dianetics, which is still going on. It initiated a war against Scientology, which is still going on. And it initiated a war against anybody that wants to say it's anything other than bogus, which would include me, and I don't care. How fascinating is that? And we're just getting started. Now, when the cabal threatened Hubbard, which of course they would, listen, if you don't shut up and withdraw your protest, you can't keep your work up. We're going to pull your funding. We're going to kick you out of the Navy. So the cabal threatened that he had to be silent in order to keep his own research. But L. Ron Hubbard, being L. Ron Hubbard, said, screw you. And he was kind of a dirty talker, so he probably said, fuck you guys. I like a guy that will drop a F-bomb every now and then. And of course, when he said, fuck you guys, they said, you first. And this resulted in his quick, unceremonious discharge from the U.S. Navy. Laura says this is very opposite to Young Pharaoh's lecture in regards to LRH. I'm going to talk to Young Pharaoh and see if we can't revisit that. And I'll present mine and he'll present his. You know, how do I say this? Young Pharaoh is a young Pharaoh. He knows a lot of stuff, but you can't know everything about everything. So there might be some gaps in his information. And I haven't listened to that presentation yet, so I can't really make these statements. But anyway, L. Ron Hubbard gets shown the discharge from the U.S. Navy. And you got to love this. He told them, F you. And then 6 weeks later, he publishes Dianetics in 1950. I love a guy that goes for it. Screw you, Navy. Screw you, Deep State. Screw you, CIA. You're going to cut my funding? You're going to quit my work? I don't think so. So he publishes Dianetics in 1950, and that son of a bitch has sold 83 million copies of Dianetics. How do you think the Navy feels about that? How do you think the CIA feels about that? 83 million copies. His work would not be hidden, nor would he keep silent. We're giving a big shout out to Young Pharaoh. Nor would he keep silent about the evils of the deep state and MK Ultra mind control, and neither will I. It would eventually cost LRH his freedom, and then it cost LRH his life. But still, the bridge to freedom that LRH pioneered is there for all of us that dare to walk it. Now let's talk about the deep state and the official church of Scientology. That's the church that you see on, I think they got Scientology.com, and they got the Super Bowl commercials. You go down the street, you see the sign. That's them. That's the official church of Scientology. And the official church of Scientology tried to create a monopoly on Dianetics, tried to create a monopoly on Scientological technologies. They tried to say, we own this and no one else can talk about it. But LRH himself in the Dianetics book declares that the science is for all mankind and that no one can have a monopoly on it. In fact, he took legal and practical steps to ensure it, and we're going to talk about those. Nevertheless, Dianetics and Scientology has been subjected to a massive smear campaign by the mass media. And never forget, the mass media is the official organ of the deep state. And I have no doubt that this smear campaign is going to be focused on me, but I'm used to it. I get it every day I get every day that ends in Y, I get this stuff, and that's okay. Now, don't forget, Big Pharma is also front and center on this, because Big Pharma, big money, and they lose billions and billions of dollars in lost pharmaceutical sales revenues when people use Dianetics and Scientology and get themselves right. And this is why you've heard what you've heard about L. Ron Hubbard. This is why you've heard what you've heard about Dianetics. This is why you've heard what you've heard about Scientology. And this is why you don't really know what you think you know about Scientology, Dianetics, L. Ron Hubbard. Why would they go out of their way to so lambast and so malign? Why? Because it has the ability to set people free, and it has the ability to keep people from being mind controlled if they know what's going on. And like Joe says, don't forget the ass media. The ass media on YouTube, wait till they get a hold of this one. They'll be talking about how stupid I am because they're bought and paid for. This is good, and we're just getting started, ladies and gentlemen. We're just getting started. And check this out, man. It's just like their attack on HCQ. Absolutely 100% right, Tracy. And believe it or not, Donald Trump is front and center in this discussion that we're having tonight, too. And here's another reason why they're against Dianetics. L. Ron did write a lot of science fiction, some good stuff, too. Dianetics also proves the existence of past lives. What do you think about that? Dianetics proves the existence of past lives. Ron discovered back in 1951 that, and Dianetics basically takes you back over your life track and fills in gaps. And that's, we'll get much deeper than that, but for now, that's all we really need to know. And as he was taking people back over their life tracks, he was amazed, first of all, when over half of the people, and it's been my experience as I've worked with people, over half of the people, their big hangups, which are called aberrations, were in the womb. Stuff they heard in the womb. Stuff they felt in the womb. Still bothering them 20, 30, 40, 50 years down the road. But then he found something out that was even more amazing to him. Because sometimes they would go back prior to the womb into what could only be described as a prior incarnation. And at first, he didn't want to believe it. At first, he was a little dubious, but he saw it happen over and over and over, and he saw it happen often enough, and the remarkable clarity of recall that he had no choice but to realize that the source of aberration, hang-ups, and we'll talk about that later, that hinders us in this life is not only something that we heard or experienced in the womb many times, but lots of other times it's actually an aberration from a previous life. I remember this one lady I was working with, and she had chronic back pain by her kidney on her right side. And damned if we didn't find out that in a prior life, she got stabbed in the kidney on her right side and died. And as soon as we cleared that, and we'll talk about how to do it, that pain went away. And I just heard from her a couple of weeks ago, still has not had that pain, and it's been a couple of years. Amazing stuff. It's not really a past life regression, Uncle Quester, because there's no hypnotism in Scientology. And unfortunately, there's no brow sweat either, but I might try to work that in. I might. It's because I found it to be very effective. But it proves the existence of past lives. Wow, that's some interesting stuff. That's really interesting stuff. And folks, I know it can get kind of hard. I know it can get kind of heavy. I know you're like, man, I just don't know. Get yourself some Mystech. You know I wear the bracelets. You know I wear the necklace because it keeps me optimized physically, mentally, and spiritually. Go to jeffreydaugherty.com. Click on the M logo. You'll see the blood test. You'll see the EMF test. You'll see the subtle body effects. That's your energy body. And it really is amazing stuff. This is the only place you can get 20% off. All right. Ooh. This is probably a little bit too dense. I should have broke this down into more pieces. But in 1951, make sure I didn't skip anything. Yep. In 1951, Ron directly spoke about Black Dianetics in a lecture. And he said this, and I'm quoting L. Ron Hubbard: death, insanity, aberration, or merely a slavish obedience can be effectively affected by the use of Black Dianetics. Think about that. You can make somebody, you can kill somebody, you can drive somebody insane, you can give them hang-ups. A lot of people have those today. Or you can merely create a slavish obedience. Folks, we're living in a world full of people that have slavish obedience. And I know some of my friends want to tell you it's demons. Some of my friends want to tell you it's angels. Some of my friends want to tell you, man, it's got nothing to do with demons. It's got nothing to do with angels. We're talking about your body and everything you need to get yourself straight and clear is something you can taste, touch, feel, hear, smell. There's no woo-woo here. Zero woo-woo. And the reason why there's so much woo-woo on YouTube is because they're trying. Some of them don't know any better. But at the bottom line, there's somebody pulling their strings, trying to keep you distracted by the freaking woo-woo. You don't need no woo-woo. You just need to get you straight, and that don't need no woo-woo. Dude, I'm telling you, you don't need no angels. You don't need no demons. You don't need no spirit guides. You don't need nothing outside your senses to get yourself together, to get clear so you can love yourself and love your neighbor. Forget about all the woo-woo. We are witness right now in 2020. Just watch the news. I never watch the news. But watch the news. And they're trying to get you to look out there instead of looking in here, as Tracy says. We're witness to the effectiveness of MK Ultra. We're witness to the effectiveness of Black Dianetics right here, right now in this world today. They're creating the slavish obedience in the vast majority of our fellows today. And I'm not just talking about them. I'm talking about those in the truth, quote unquote, movement. There's a lot of slavish obedience. You go from being a slave to the pastor to being a slave to the guru on YouTube. Not smart. It's on full display, like Grammy says. Woo-woo will distract you every damn time. Thank you, Tracy. And here's the first law, or the first principle of Black Dianetics. So you are going to deal with Dianetics in your life. If you don't do anything, you're going to deal with Black Dianetics. But we're giving you a chance, if you want to deal with white Dianetics. Because the first principle of Black Dianetics is that, and listen to this, so long as a natural phenomenon remains the knowledge of a few and is denied to the many, it can be utilized to control the many by the few and enrich them. Think about that. Think about Christianity. I thought about it. It sounds exactly like the clergy-laity dichotomy of religion. We're the preachers. We'll tell you what to do. You just sit in the seats. How about the guru-follower dynamic of YouTube? Just wait for me to channel something or talk to this being or lick a frog And then I'll tell you what's up. And they're all deep state flunkies after all. Think about this. Ponder this. In order to remove the insanity in this world, it was necessary to release these natural laws that form the basis of Dianetics. Now, when you release these laws, not only do these laws reveal the way to heal, like L. Ron Hubbard was doing at Oak Harbor, whatever that hospital was called, but they also reveal the way to create insanity at will. And if you do it correctly, you can make somebody insane without them knowing they're insane until they're activated. So there's danger in releasing the information because it also allows the people that want to use it for ill to know about it. And generally speaking, the people that want to use it for ill are more motivated, at least until now, than the people that want to use it for good. I think that's changing. I think there's more people motivated by good now than by ill. But the point is that when we put out this information, we put it out for everybody, and everybody now knows, oh shit, they might be working some black Dianetics on me. You may not want nothing to do with white Dianetics, but I'll bet you, you'll be thinking about some black Dianetics every now and then. Black Dianetics matters. And as long as black Dianetics and MK Ultra, it's the same thing. Did you know that MK Ultra was stolen from Dianetics? That's amazing. That's worth the price of admission. As long as black Dianetics and MK Ultra remains in possession of the few, they'll be able to exploit the many, especially today's slumbering herd. And it's people right here. Anybody that's connected to that blood matrix is in that slumbering herd. They're victims of black Dianetics. And in 1952, Ron once more directly confronted black Dianetics in another lecture. Think about this. He said, you remember old George Orwell? His book, 1984? You remember 1984. And then Ron said, that's the palest shadow of a world under the secret use of black Dianetics and Scientology with no remedy in existence. That's the world we're living in. So they're using the bad. They're using the black. It's full-blown MK Ultra black Dianetics all over the world. So I can no longer keep silent. I had to bring out the good. I've got to bring out the white. I've got to tell you what they're doing so you can recognize it. And then if you want, I'll tell you how you can get away. You can get free from it. Bringing the mail. Trying to be of service to other beings. Now, this is really interesting. In 1952, due to a court case by some guy that Ron thought was his friend, he actually lost all rights to Dianetics from 1952 to 1955. He couldn't even say Dianetics. He lost it. And that sounds terrible. Oh, man. He lost it. How horrible. Well, it wasn't really that horrible, actually, because what happened is Ron was already thinking about, okay, Dianetics takes care of the person. How do we take care of the spirit? Well, this was a push to him, which was probably intended for good. And he founded Scientology during those 3 years of 52 to 55. And the setback, quote unquote, actually facilitated the advancement of a theory that Ron had about spirituality into reality. Because Scientology, like I told you briefly before, is concerned with the spiritual clearing, if you will, of an already physically Dianetic clear. Dianetics gets this body working. It gets you totally optimized in everything that has to do with your body. This vehicle that you're using here. And then once that's totally clear, here comes Scientology to help you maximize your full spiritual potential, maximize your full spiritual freedom, and restore your natural human abilities. And guess what? They're superhuman. The way we were when we first were. That's what Scientology will bring us back to if we've done the Dianetic work first. And plus, It gave us a very workable term that solves this eternal soul spirit battle. You heard me and Wayne going back and forth about soul, spirit, because I know what it means in the text. And he's Wayne. You know how it is. I hope he gets his head straight because I really thought he was a good guy. Some people say otherwise, super dark, but anyway. Man is a soul, and Dianetics clears that soul and enables him or her to function at their highest levels. Now, you got the soul, which is a body, and I did that wrong. The spirit, the true spiritual essence of who we are, what we would call spirit or soul. The soul is this. That other part that we can't quite determine what it is. Ron came up with a word that I like because it clicks. He came up with this word, thetan, which is our true spiritual essence. Good stuff. Black Dianetics, The Empire Strikes Back. And in 1955, LRH regained the legal ownership to the Dianetics name and the Dianetics work. And then he did something which you almost want to say it was prophetic, because it was amazing that he thought to do this. And it shows who he is, because what we're told now is money grubbing. If you want to make $1 billion, start a religion. L. Ron Hubbard didn't say that. Heinlein said that, not Hubbard. But you didn't know that until now. So if Hubbard was trying to make $1 billion with a religion, why did he do this? What he did in 1955 when he first got the rights back is he took a far-sighted prophetic action to ensure that such a thing could never happen again. In 1955, he started HASI, the Hubbard Association of Scientologists International. And before you ask, yes, I am. And he bequeathed all of his intellectual property to that organization, that nonprofit organization. And specifically, implicitly, and completely openly, he granted all Scientologists, and the way that LRH defined a Scientologist was a person that wanted to use the knowledge to help their fellow man. That's a Scientologist. But when he started the Hubbard Association of Scientologists International, he gave all of his intellectual property to the public domain so that it could never, ever again be monopolized or held back by any group. He gave everybody full rights to all his work. Why would he do that if he was just trying to make money? I've got some exciting news for you, ladies and gentlemen. I've got exciting news for you. Superman is no longer just fiction. With Dianetics and Scientology, Dianetics first, then Scientology, we can truly create ourselves and rehabilitate ourselves back to the superhuman beings that we were originally. We can get back every single thing that we lost back then. And when you start thinking about that, and you start thinking about the possibilities, then it's easy to see why this work has so many detractors. And thankfully, because you're going to need it if you start going down this path. No, it's 1972 would be the cutoff time. You want to go pre-1972. In the next installment, we'll talk about how to do that. Because I found after literally 10 or 12 years of research, I found a way to do that. But thankfully, Dianetics and Scientology is fatal to your give a damn. You start getting into Dianetics, it'll kill your give a damn. You start getting into Scientology, it'll kill your give a damn. I say my give a damn is busted. And what I mean by it is once you start using Dianetics and it starts helping you, you don't give a damn what any of those bitches say. Once you start using Scientology and it starts working, you don't give a damn what any of them biatches got to say no more because you're getting it together. That's why. It's fatal to your give a damn. But it's just for the rich people. They just want to steal your money. Well, yes and no. Because in order to keep Dianetics from the masses, the official church, bad, raised the cost for courses to ridiculous amounts so that only the very wealthy could hope to be able to afford it. They tried to make Dianetics only for the rich and famous Hollywood types. Prior to 1972, it costs less than $10,000 total to go from the beginning of Dianetics to the very end of Scientology. How many of you ever been to psychiatrists? You know how short a time you can spend that much money. Once Miscavige and the other guys took over, the price was raised to the millions of dollars. The millions of dollars. Whoops, sorry. The whole idea that Scientology is for the rich is just a lie. It's a psyop. Sorry, I got myself distracted a little bit. So why the deep state is so interested? It's not only mind control, but it's also remote viewing. Yes, believe it or not, it's remote viewing. And this is how Donald Trump gets connected, but I don't think we'll get to that tonight. White Scientology offers freedom to mankind. Black Scientology offers the means to enslave and control mankind. And there's people very interested on both ends of those spectrum. In addition, there's the subject of remote viewing. We hadn't even talked about remote. Oh, Farsight Institute. I don't know anything about them. Cynthia loves them. But the CIA, Central Intelligence Agency, commissioned a study that was, and I misspelled that, was conducted at Stanford Research Institute, you know, Stanford. And the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT. I spelled that wrong too, but you know where I'm at. So the CIA used Stanford and MIT to do a study. And this study discovered that Dianetically cleared and Scientology operating thetans have an extraordinary capability to do remote viewing. Can you believe that, ladies and gentlemen? Can you believe that? The things you learn on this channel that you'll learn nowhere else. MIT, Stanford studies remote viewing and finds out that the best remote viewers are Scientology operating thetans that have been Dianetically cleared. Holy shit. Did you know that an operating thetan can easily detach from his body and view anything, anywhere, anytime? I can teach you to be 3 feet behind your head or anywhere else you want to be. Can you do it, Jeff? Yes, I can. How do you think I hit 86 or 7% on the NFL schedule by remote viewing? I wish I'd have been in Vegas. Now, I know some of you know about remote viewing. A lot of people talk about remote viewing. There's all kinds of shows about remote viewing, and there's Farsight, and I don't know about the other ones. But what you don't know, and even Farsight's not going to tell you, because there's been great efforts to cover up the fact that the first and the best practitioners of remote viewing were all Scientologists. Operating thetan Scientologists. Ingo Swann, Dr. Hal Puthoff, Pat Price, all OT Scientologists. the best of the best in remote viewing. That's some interesting shit, isn't it? Hell yeah, it is. Anybody want a remote view? Anybody want a remote view? Anybody want to take advantage of uncertain times and make a little money? Everybody can use a little jingle. Everybody can use a little jingle. But we're not experts, but there's a team of 29 years of dependability from the father and son, Miles Franklin Precious Metals. Cynthia and I use them. If you want to get into some precious metals, they say this is a good time. These guys are great. They've been doing it almost as long as I've been doing this, 10 years short. Go to jeffreydaugherty.com, click on the banner, Miles Franklin. They'll give you the information and get you hooked up if you want to get some precious metals. Dudes, remote viewing, freedom from mind control. Man, this is all good stuff. Now, here's where it gets a little weird, man. By 1972, LRH had discovered that his standard Dianetics could relieve 80% of all cases that were brought to him. But Ron was not satisfied with only being able to help 80% of the people. He wanted to be able to help 100% of the people. So what he did was he said, I want everybody, all the auditors around the world, the ones that you can't clear, I want you to send them to me. He'd fly these people to him at his own expense. And he was working on developing what he called advanced Dianetics because he knew he could fix the other 20%. And he was getting close, man. He's flying people in. We're already fixing 80% of the people. Pretty soon he's going to be able to fix the other 20%. And then, dude, all of a sudden, in June of 1972, L. Ron Hubbard disappeared, kidnapped by the deep state. And since 1972, June 7th, 1972, there has not been any verifiable sign of life, no more writings, no more speeches, and no more advanced Dianetics since 1972, June. We could have healed 100% of the people. And I don't say this very often, but I just got a knowing into my knower that said, we can finish what Ron started. We can get that other 20%. I'm just here to report the mail. We can get the other 20% fixed. Ron, this knowledge is available and we can get it. That's a big statement. We can get the other 20% fixed. But he got kidnapped by the deep state. There's been a few sightings of a possible body double, but it wasn't L. Ron Hubbard over the years up to 1986. And from 72 to 86, Dianetics and Scientology were completely hijacked. And anything that is past 1972, Dianetics, anything that's past 1972 Scientology, it's no longer effective. And in fact, it's very, very harmful. Don't mess with it. So I'm going to ask you to be patient until the next presentation, because I've got a source where we can get all the pre-1972 documentation, and you can get it in books, but you can also get it in PDF, and I think you can get it free. I just got to check with the providers. Check this one out. This is a book you'll never ever see because they got rid of it. It's Dianetics Today. It was written in when was it written? He wrote Dianetics in 50. He wrote this. It was actually published in 72. Wow. This was like his last magnus opus of the real L. Ron Hubbard. But the point being, after 72, they could get 80%. Up to 72, you could get 80% of the people fixed, and we're going to find the other 20. But since 1972, the Church of Scientology has never produced one clear and has never produced one operating thetan. And in fact, all they produced is mind-controlled robots since then. It's been run by the deep state. And true Dianetics is only available for a few hours at the beginning of a person going into the Church of Scientology because it hooks them, because it's real, but then they jerk it away once they got you hooked. And then they get you onto that black Dianetics, and then they get you into that mind control. They freaking kidnapped L. Ron Hubbard. That's how big this is. That's how important this is. And somebody asked, bait and switch, exactly. Somebody asked, does Donald Trump remote view? I don't know. I would not be a bit surprised if Donald Trump hasn't been Dianetically cleared and if Donald Trump isn't a Scientology operating thetan. Wouldn't surprise me one bit. But I know he's got a bunch of them working for him. The man knows the freaking future. He does. He's proven it over and over again. He knows the future. It has got nothing to do with Tesla. I'm sorry. It's got nothing to do with Looking Glass. I'm sorry. It's got all to do with the very best of remote viewing, which is Dianetically cleared operating thetan Scientologists. Wow. Wow. So they kidnapped LRH. And then this little weasel named David Miscavige, he replaced the kidnapped LRH, and he's been in charge ever since. And guess what? Guess what? Yeah. It's like President Trump. They're like, oh my God, Mr. President, there's an active shooter. Could you imagine all the other presidents? Oh my God. And Trump's like, yeah, okay, it's cool. Because he knows the future. Anyway. David Miscavige was exposed as a CIA agent by a former CIA director shortly before his death. And they created this thing called the CST, the Church of Spiritual Technology. It was created as a liaison between the deep state and the Church of Scientology. And it's led by a former director of the U.S. Treasury Department. Do you understand the problems that the Scientologists have had with the U.S. Treasury Department in trying to keep their nonprofit status? So you're trying to tell me, okay, we got it. We put this guy in charge that's from the U.S. Treasury Department that's been trying to take away our damn nonprofit status forever, but we're going to put him in charge of our church. Can't you see that the deep state is running official Scientology? The official Scientology church of today doesn't work. It's very harmful. It hasn't cleared one bitch since 1972. And finally, in 1986, they killed off their LRH marionette. That's a puppet. But so effective is classic LRH Dianetic. So effective is LRH classic Scientology that the deep state had to invade and take over the church. Somebody asked, does the limbs know? The limbs are all, the limbs populate the deep state by at least 75%. So there's the answer to your question. They took over the damn church. And they did so to take advantage of the power of white Dianetics to develop top-notch remote viewers. And they did it so they could employ black Dianetics, MK Ultra, to launch massive mind control programs on the American people. They did so to prevent Dianetics and Scientology from transforming the world. This is why the massive mass media and mass media onslaught against Dianetics and Scientology. They don't want you to create yourself. They want to create you. And they will. You really have two choices at the end of the day. You can create yourself, or you can let them create you, because one of them's going to happen. A being is only as valuable as he can serve others. We know it's divine law. We know we can't serve unless we serve ourselves. This is what create yourself is all about. I think I had another couple slides. What happened to those slides? I guess I went through them all. Wow. So I thought I had a couple things to look at. I don't want to make you look at that. Thought I had a couple things. Oh, I guess I did it all. Yeah, the LRH kidnapping and stuff I was going to leave until the next time. Folks, this is a fascinating, fascinating story. And it's got all the intrigue. It's got the deep state. It's got the CIA. It's got MK Ultra. It's got Superman. This is how good this is. And this is why it's being so powerfully resisted. I know we've been here a while, but let's go through the chat room a little bit. Brandon says, this whole show has been one big bomb of information. That's what we do. That's what we do. Laura says, you can't make this stuff up. I will let you know about the materials. MK Ultra is now called MK America. I didn't know about that, but either way, let me go back to the beginning. All right, let's see. Sounds dynamite. People have been fooled into believing they don't belong to religion, that you grow up to be a wild dog. Sometimes being a wild dog is not a bad thing. JW Pest Control, thanks for weighing in. This is as far back as I can go. Sorry. Yep, we talked about give me all your money, Dianetics. So many people are deceived. Absolutely. I think the leader of Scientology kidnapped his wife. Well, Daniel, we can't say that he kidnapped his wife, but she hasn't been seen since Malia Bros has been seen. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. What's her name? Shelly Miscavige. She hasn't been seen in years. She hadn't been seen in years. You're right. You're right. Laura says you're blowing my mind. Thank you. Back to MK Ultra. It is. I done did it again. I this is all I do, Laura. I'm a one-trick pony. I do this, and I'm getting fairly good at it after 40 years. Nancy loves the flags. Me too. I love those flags. And both those flags mean the same thing, by the way. Harry was already thinking MK Ultra. Franco says it sounds like what happened to some of the school shooters in the past. Exactly, Franco. Tarquinio, nice to see you here. Paul says he never heard that. Get used to it. You hear stuff here all the time that you never hear anybody else anywhere else. Joe loves us. Love you too, brah. It does explain so much, Tracy says. Love to you all, says Brooke. Nice to see you, Brooke. Let's see. Yeah, Lionel speculates that Pharaoh's going off the information online. Yeah, probably. It is a lot of information, and it is interesting. Uncle Quester says, yes, it's true, and he's right. Joe says, well said, Jeff. Thank you. Laura, it's really good stuff. Thank you. Talking about Dianetics, it's a heavy read. I don't find it to be a heavy read. But it is rather dense in information. A lot of books you read a page or two, and then there's a nice nugget every sentence or two. It's like, damn. I mean, I highlight books as I read them because I know I'm going to come back and teach the highlighted points. And you look at this book, the whole damn thing is highlighted. It's all highlights, man. So it is. It's not dense, but it's dense. You know what I'm saying? You know what? Somebody says, I think Kevin Arnett's full of shit. I just do. I'm sorry. I think he's full of shit. I think he's a shill. And I know some of you love him, but I think he's full of shit. Kevin Arnett. Anyway, no more crazy pills. Don't leave out the ass media. I didn't, Joe. Thanks for reminding about that. Candid Lee says, thank you. We needed this information. I appreciate it. Battlefield Earth was a good one. What's the one I read that I really liked? Great big book. I can't remember it was part of the Battlefield Earth. That was a whole series. Soul Energy Recycling, maybe. Canada was a part of Mind Control at McGill, the deal between the U.S. and Canada. Thank you, Heather. I wonder if remote viewing was used by the CIA. Well, they invented it, so yeah, they obviously started using it. Why doesn't LRH have an estate to defend his work in life? Because he gave it all to the public domain. He could have maybe done it better, but howdy in Abilene. Prettiest town I've ever seen. Past lives. A lot of memory in the body, says Brooke. She's right. Ooh, this is why I come only here now. Nobody gives us info like Jeff, says Maka. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. That's common knowledge about CIA remote viewing. Several movies about this and documentary. When my daughter was 4, she said to me, I would almost be 1,000 years old, but I keep dying. Out of the mouth of babes. Out of the mouth of babes. Voodoo dolls have meaning. That's interesting. Maybe black Dianetics is like black magic. You know, that's potato. That's semantics. It's really kind of the same thing, right? Simon says, wear your mask. Yep, you're right, Franco. Is that where conspiracy theory comes from? Good point. You can feel it. It's in the air. My mind is blown. Thank you. Joe was drinking when he wrote this. Oh, that's funny. That's funny. It is clear all these people are under some sort of mind control. It is real. And I was looking at, and I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to anyway. Cynthia's like, oh my God, here we go. But if you notice these looters, why are all the looters black? Now, there might be a damn crazy hillbilly white trash in there, but why are all the looters black? I don't get it. Some of these people aren't humans. They're subhumans. They're NPCs. But why? Pharaoh, you got some work to do. Your people are stealing shit every time they get an excuse. You got to stop that. I got work to do with my people. Somebody needs to get to work. Why are all the looters black? Black looters matter. Why? Come on now. And if they're not all black, they're 99.99% black. The looters are more black than Kamala Harris. That's a nice one. I like that. How do we find the unedited versions? I'll help you. And it's not pre-1951 to be pre-1972. Let's see. Creating a secret society. Yes, you're right. Are you saying the Dawn can remote view? I wouldn't doubt it. Uncle Quester says, hell yeah to remote viewing. Let's see. Every milestone in Joe's life was in June. That's interesting. We are the ones to finish it with our advanced studies. I agree, Brandon. Lionel says, I didn't see that in the pamphlets. I think Trump has access. Wouldn't surprise me either, Jeff. They believe the same rat bastard. Let's see. Tori got banned from Twitter. Did she really? That's funny. Oh, Trump is a savage. And I mean that in the most nice way. That's not the word I really looked for. Let's see. Oh, she's got a different handle now. Was Charlie Manson involved with Dianetics? No. Yes, he was. Black Dianetics. Charlie Manson was black Dianetics up the you-know-what. He was mind-controlled. He was definitely MK Ultra, which is nothing but black Dianetics. And, I wore the shirt yesterday, Charlie Manson, fake news. Nobody died. That was a production. So you got black Dianetic on that too, ladies and gentlemen. You got black Dianetic on that as well. Let's see. This whole show has been one big bomb of information. Yeah, Kamal is Indian. That's why I said he's more black. They're more black than her. Let's see. I first hold the MK Ultra tests were in, let's see, 13 do 50. I'm not sure what that means. Elephants are way smarter than humans. Then why haven't they invented cars? Come on. I'm not saying elephants are stupid, but there's no damn way an elephant is smarter than a human. I'm sorry. That's just one of those things we say just to say, and people say, oh, that's interesting. No, they're not. Let me see an elephant that can write a letter. Let me see an elephant that can, no, come on, elephants are not. Okay, I'm sorry. Let's see what else we got here. That's what I mean by heavy. You're right. Great show. Thank you, Daniel. And here's, we'll talk about this. Jack Parsons, LRH, who was the third guy. There wasn't a third guy. You're thinking of Crowley, but Crowley was way over in England. LRH never met Crowley, and LRH studied literally everything, like me. LRH studied all of that stuff. Then he took the stuff. If it worked from here, he'd take it. Ooh, that works. I'll keep that. And then he cobbled it all together into a workable system. So just because LRH was studying thelema doesn't mean that he was a thelemic. He was just studying and gathering information. Just like I got initiated as a Triskelion Wiccan priest, which is a witch. I'm not that anymore. I realized, oh, that's bad. Got out of it. Emptied it, rebuked it, all that. This is amazing, Jeff. Thank you for bringing it forward. I appreciate that. Here, the same person that talks about the elephant being smarter than people, wrong, says the flags are a division mechanism. Yeah. Spirit of 1776. That's real divisive. Rebel yell. That's real divisive. Look, I'm glad you're here, but you're not right. Yes, you can look for future topics, future stuff on this one. Absolutely. Elephants are way smarter than humans. Oh, repeated. That makes it true. Let's say, let's go. What else we got here? What else we got here? What else we got here? Jeff, ever heard of or seen the lioness? No, don't pimp other people, please. What the hell was that? That IYI person, I'm sorry, you got to go. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Well, wouldn't the Dianetics come from Kabbalah? No, nothing. No, not at all. Dianetics was invented from the 1940 to 1950. Kabbalah, a little bit older, Lionel. I hear what you're saying, though, but no. Manly P. Hall, some good, some not so good. The blacks are part of the Democratic campaign. That's a good question. That's a good answer. That's a good answer. That's a good answer. Guess which flag flew over the slave ships? I know the answer to that one, Mafalai Gua. The flag of Zion. They were Limish slave ships. Limish slave ships. All right, folks. I'm sorry to go so long tonight. Did I read? What did I read wrong? What did I read wrong? Well, wouldn't the Dianetics come from Kabbalah, Tracy? Yeah, I'm sorry. I guess I missed it. I couldn't follow it. I got something else to do. We appreciate you all. I really do. This is deep stuff, and we're just getting started, literally. I mean, you saw the thickness of this book right here, right? Eventually, we'll get through all that. It's going to take a while. It's going to take a while. And there's 18 basic books. And yeah, there's a lot to study. There's a lot to study. Thanks, Lionel. I know we're on the same page, even if I can't find it right now. Well, folks, you're welcome, Maka. Our mission is to restore humanity. We are the last generation of real humans. And that's what we're here to do. Oh, I'm going to stay alive. I'm going to live to at least 100, Brandon. For Tracy Dyer and all of other great moderators, I say thank you. Thank you, Laura. For the lovely Cynthia, we appreciate you being here. We salute you for seeking after truth. Keep asking questions. Keep questioning answers. And just like every other night, you got mail. It's in your box. It's in your box. Open it. Read it. Act on it. I hope that you will. And just like the regular mailman, through rain, snow, sleet, dark at night, and all that other stuff, I will always make my appointed rounds. That's my promise to you. I remain your humble Christian whistleblower, well, sort of. And I can't wait to see you again tomorrow. because we got a lot more good stuff to get into. Cynthia and I appreciate you very much, and we're looking forward to continuing to create ourselves and build the life that we love. Special salute to Uncle Quester and Geo Hawk. I think he's in the building too. We appreciate you all very, very much. And I'll see you again real soon. Now it's time to go get Rooney and watch some Supernatural. I'm about to get my Sam and Dean on, y'all. We'll see you again. Take care. Bye-bye.